This chart is what managing directors and senior partners at top performing firms understand about career growth that others don't. To go from just grinding out hours to being an indispensable part of their organization, often years faster than what you'd think is possible. To understand, let's look at this chart of the growth trajectory of a single relationship over time. When any relationship begins, the growth curve is generally slow. Connection and trust increases relative to how helpful you are. Slow and incremental at first and requires ongoing communication and helpfulness. But if you invest in that relationship consistently over time, the relationship value grows faster. It starts to compound. The conversations get deeper and your advice more valuable. Think of a 20-year business partner. As you accumulate wins, each win takes less and less effort to get. But what most people miss is what science calls the network effect. That each node added to a network grows the value of the network more than you'd think. When you combine these strong connections, each positive connection in your network doesn't increase your network strength linearly. It increases it exponentially. And if you do this consistently over time, your impact will grow like crazy as you add more connections. As you help more people, it gets easier and faster to help even more people. That's because people talk to each other. One person can transfer the trust they have in you to the next through a referral, or by providing a reference. That's why if you don't learn these relationship skills, you don't just lose out on a single relationship, you lose out on the connection power of your entire future network. To avoid missing out on this exponential advancement in your career, follow these 3 growth principles to grow your relationship advantage. The first principle is about fixing a fault in relationship building you probably have but don't yet realize. Most of us treat business like a game of tennis. Sometimes we serve, sometimes we return the ball, but mostly we wait for the ball to come to us to keep playing. We feel the need to have a reason to reach out. We need something, an event, message, or request that justifies our relationship development. So we sit tight. We wait for the other party to send the ball our way or to respond to something we sent them. This is a surefire way to flatten out your exponential curve because each relationship takes effort in the beginning and too much time between connections. Instead, think of growth like constantly practicing your serve. Practicing your serve means you just keep hitting balls over the net. You're not worried about someone hitting it back. You've got a bucket of balls at your foot. The best do this with their client. They just keep making offers of helpfulness, regardless of if the person responded to their last offer. They keep going. Don't wait to add value. Instead, you must believe it's always your move. Here are 3 serves you can use to make a move at any time in any relationship. The first is to offer a helpful resource. Keep track of the most interesting resources, ideas, and content. Anything you find interesting. That way, when you discover something a client might be interested in, you can send it their way with a personal note. But I want to warn you, there's a right way to do this and a wrong way. The wrong way is to just send the resource over. Check this out, and then wait for them to respond. Nope. This is lazy relationship building. Worst case, you've actually created a value loss instead of compounding value because it can look like you copied and pasted the message, sending it to a gazillion people. Instead, do this. When you send over a resource, identify one hook moment from that resource. A hook moment is the part of the resource that you think is the most valuable based on that individual's interests. Once you identify it, call it out and mention why you think it's valuable to their context. Here's an example. Hey Jan, thought you'd appreciate this video, especially at the 10-minute and 20-second mark where they talk about I statements being powerful by being impossible to contradict. Similar to the Brené Brown talk we went to. Let's chat about this at our next coffee next month. This is great for 2 reasons. First, it provides immediate value. You're not asking them to go through the entire resource to figure out what is helpful. They get a relevant insight even if they don't do anything else. Second, by mentioning how the resource is relevant to the recipient, It shows that you are giving it to them specifically. The message is tailored and personal. It lands with impact. And there's a callback to why it's relevant to the shared relationship. It even hints towards a fun conversation to the future. That brings me to the second move you can make, which is to offer a helpful conversation. Let's be honest, we're all busy, and even more useful than another video, book, or article to consume is a one-on-one conversation about our favorite topics. This can look like a lunch, coffee, or even a quick Zoom call. But once you're in front of your client or key relationship, the goal is to listen to them as closely as you can. Here's a great script to figure out exactly what they're most interested in. Hey Todd, I get a lot of interesting things that cross my desk in my role as a senior leader at my firm. What kinds of things are you interested in learning right now? If I know your priorities, I can shoot over thought pieces, invite you to events, or introduce you to great people, and do lots of other things that might be helpful. This gets people talking. Follow up, dig in deep, and have a helpful conversation. As professionals, we're often biased towards offering solutions, but many times people value being listened to just as much as a solution that's brought to them. The third move that top performers use to add value without being asked is through what I call making a 15% bid. Do you unconsciously limit yourself to certain topics or modes of conversation when you're developing relationships? Many of us keep conversations inside a safe zone of singular project, industry, or professional topics. Basically, what you've talked with that person about before. But the best relationships evolve. They don't stand in one place. Think of your longest standing, deepest relationships. They often start with one topic, but then evolve to explore many more over time. In the same way, you should make intentional efforts to broaden and deepen your client relationships over time. My friend and author Michael Melcher calls these efforts 15% bids. A 15% bid takes a small risk in a relationship, moving it a touch beyond what's been done before. It's not a major risk. It's something you could easily step back from if it wasn't a success, but it opens the door to a small broadening of the foundation of a relationship. Top performers make it a point of naturally incorporating 15% bids in their conversation, instead of playing it 100% safe. Here are some great examples of 15% bids. If you want even more ideas for 15% bids and relationship development, you can read more about these in Chapter 8 of my book, Give to Grow. But even if you master these 3 moves to start to compound relationship value over your career, you'll quickly introduce a new problem. With your limited time, how do you choose which relationships to prioritize? And how do you find the time to prioritize them? First, let's talk who to prioritize. You can't prioritize everyone, especially the bigger your network of relationships becomes. Early on, every opportunity is a valuable chance to create value, since there are few nodes in your relationship network. But as you grow in your career and your opportunities increase, your time becomes increasingly limited. This is where your protomoi list comes in. Protomoi is Greek for first among equals. In a network of equal relationships, only a few can be invested in a given time. That's why you need to create a list of the top individuals to invest in during your current season. My protomoi list is usually about 10 people. I found any more than this in my efforts to grow my relationships either get too diluted or too difficult to maintain. When you make your protomoi list, pick a mix of different individuals and stages of opportunities. A great mix includes both clients and referral sources, and those referral sources might even include some internal colleagues. You can find your perfect mix of people you know well and those you want to know. Dial your perfectionist tendencies down. You can make changes anytime you want. The best view this list as fluid and ever-changing based on the new people they meet and changing conditions. But your protomoi list will be useless without a system behind it. To avoid this, set aside 15 minutes each week. Mark it on your calendar. Make it sacred. This window represents your small, weekly commitment to prioritizing relationship development. Think about it like investing in a retirement account. Small monthly contributions don't feel like much at first, But if you do that consistently over time, those contributions lead to millions. These weekly 15 minutes bring incredible returns in your career by investing in the quality of your relationships. But those incredible returns will only happen with ongoing, small, repeated efforts. So pick a consistent time and stick with it. No matter how busy you are, you'll take 15 minutes to do the following tasks. First, establish 3 MITs, most important things for the week. These 3 actions will be related to your individuals on your Protomoy list. You'll write these actions down, why they matter, and then work on them in the coming week. Then, next week, you'll review the 3 actions. Did you do them? If not, knock them out right then. Pick 3 new actions for the coming week. Stay consistent. This way, you'll always be making deposits in your relationship account, deposits that compound over the course of your career. But even after this, there's still one more thing you need to maximize your career's exponential curve. Let's admit it. It's always possible to come up with a good reason not to prioritize relationship development. And it makes sense, right? When you're in the early part of your career's relationship curve, any given act of relationship development doesn't feel meaningful. It's hard to see the future compounding effect that you'll get. But what's worse is once you start taking initiative in your relationships, you aren't always rewarded. In fact, you might feel foolish or fall flat on your face. Remember the idea of the 15% bid? It's called a 15% bid because there's an 85% chance to deepen the relationship. But that leaves a 15% chance every act of relationship building doesn't work or is just ignored. Let's say you do 3 MIT actions every week for a whole month. That's about 12 actions. That means you'll fail at least 2 of these. And that's a good month. When you go from doing existing work to winning new work in your career, the rewards are no longer guaranteed. When it comes to relationships, you're rewarded for your attempts. And rejection is just part of the process. I've had the experience of pursuing an aspirational client on my Protomoy list for years and repeatedly getting a no or not hearing anything back at all. Then, years later, when I least expected it, they reached out to me proactively when what I offered made sense for their organization. Because despite how I felt, the previous rejections weren't personal. They weren't even really rejections. It just wasn't the right time until it was. Top performers make more attempts. You've got to put in the time. And the exponential arc of their careers gets bigger and bigger, opening doors to new opportunities to win work, earn more, and make a bigger impact in their clients' lives than they ever thought possible. If you want to learn more about how to harness relationships to create an exponential career, watch this video next. Or check out my book, Give to Grow, where I share even more moves and mindsets that lead to growth. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.